I'm going to show you how to go from a word equation to a balanced chemical equation. You've already worked on balancing chemical equations, so this just adds one more step at the beginning. Um, Write the word equation, and then after you have the word equation, put down the correct formula for each reactant and product under the name. Don't try to balance the equation while you're doing this. Just write the correct name or the correct formula for each product and reactant under it. And then after you've done that, don't change them and balance by changing the coefficients as you have done before. So here's an example of going from a word to a balanced symbol equation. When a piece of sodium metal is dropped into water, hydrogen gas is released, leaving a solution of sodium hydroxide. So I'm going to analyze the text to see what's at the beginning and then what's after the end. So before I have sodium, that's a reactant, so I'm going to write sodium. This is the word equation. And is dropped into water, plus water. Okay. Hydrogen gas is released. That means hydrogen's a product. Leaving a solution of sodium hydroxide. Okay, so now I have my word equation. I'm going to move it over. Oops. I'm going to move it over so that I have a little more room. I'm going to look back and see, okay, I wrote the word equation, and now I'm going to write the correct formula for each reactant and product under the name, and I'm not going to change the subscript after I've done that. So I have 4 questions for myself. 1, what is the formula for sodium metal? Well, that's simple. That's just Na. Sodium is an element, and sodium metal, so it was solid. I'll put the state symbols in. What is the formula for water? Okay, the formula for water is H2O. And after I put that, and that's a liquid, that's not a solution, I'm not going to change the subscripts on that. What is the formula for hydrogen gas? Hydrogen, the element symbol is H, but hydrogen gas is molecular. It's a diatomic element. It's H2. So the correct formula for hydrogen gas as a reactant or product of a chemical reaction is H2. And that's a gas. And then I'm left with sodium hydroxide solution. And here I have to recall how to write chemical formulas. And I know that that's ionic, that sodium is a +1 cation, the sodium ion, and the hydroxide is a -1 anion. It's OH minus, so it's just NaOH. Okay, so let's review what we've done. So after this, I do not change the subscripts after I have written the correct formula, and now I'm going to balance by just changing coefficients. Can't change the subscripts anymore, because if I do, I'll be changing what the chemical is, what the substance is. Okay, so let me start by doing a little atom inventory on each side. Na, H, and O on the reactant side and the product side. Okay, and I like to balance uncombined elements last. So, you know, I'll save sodium. Okay, all right, so I've got 1O on this side. I've got 1O on this side. That looks pretty good. I've got 1A on, and 1 sodium on this side and 1 sodium on this side. That's also good. And I've got 2 H's on this side. And I've got 1, 2, 3 H's on this side. Okay. So the way I'm going to decide to balance this equation is I'm going to balance those H's, and what I know is that on the left-hand side, whatever coefficient I put here, whether it be 1, then I've got 2 H's, or if I put 2, then I've got 4 H's. Okay? So no matter what I put there, I'm going to have an even number of H's, and I have an odd number of H's here. So I'm definitely going to need to have this multiplied by 2 to have an even number. So that's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to put a 2 next to the Na. Okay, so I have an Na, I've got, update my atom inventory, I've got 2 sodiums, I've got 6, excuse me, I've got 4 hydrogens, and I've got 2 oxygens, and on this side I need 2 sodiums, so I'm going to put a 2 here. I need 4 hydrogens, so I'm going to put a 2 here, 2, because 2 times 2 is 4. And I have 2 oxygens, and now it is balanced. Okay, so the balancing part shouldn't be new. The new part is changing from a word equation to a balanced chemical equation. Why don't we try one more example? Let's say barium chloride solution is mixed with sodium sulfate forming barium sulfate precipitate and sodium chloride. Okay, so now I'm going to write the correct symbols for those formulas. You just treat it like it's 4 different problems. Write the formula of barium chloride, write the formula of sodium sulfate, write the formula of barium sulfate, write the formula of sodium chloride. Barium chloride is, remember, Ba2 plus and Cl minus, so that's BaCl2 solution. Sodium sulfate, sodium ion is Na plus, the sulfate is SO4 2 minus, so it's Na2SO4 solution. Forms barium sulfate, and I said that that was a precipitate, so I'll put a little PPT there so you know that. Barium is 2 plus, sulfate is 2 minus, so I know that the formula is just BaSO4, and that's a solid because it's a precipitate. And then sodium chloride, Na plus, Cl minus, that's 1 to 1, so NaCl, and that's aqueous. Okay, let's balance them up, doing our little atom inventory, Ba, Cl, Na, and then I'm going to balance the sulfates, since they're on both sides, as SO4s, and that's going to save me a little bit of time. Ba, Cl, Na, and then the sulfates. Okay. Let's see. We've got 1 barium on both sides, so that's good. We've got 2 chlorides on this side. We have 1 chloride on this side. We have 2 sodiums on this side. We have 1 sodium on the product side, and we have 1 sulfate on the left and 1 sulfate on the right. So it looks like this is going to be easily changed just by changing this coefficient to 2. And now everything kind of checks out. And that's it. Okay? So, the point is, when you write, when you're asked to balance a symbol equation from a word equation, the first step is just write the correct formulas. And once you've written the correct formulas for each reactant and product, don't change them. Just balance by changing the coefficients. If you change the subscripts, you'll change the substance, and then you won't have the correct answer.